Hey, welcome to the Missouri Sports Network here. It's 4 o'clock. It's July 9th, 2024. It's a Tuesday for those of you out there listening. And if you want to be part of the show, you can call in at 417 327 6914. That's 327 6914. You can sign up and follow along on Facebook or YouTube. Show is always brought to you by 417 Navigator, also presented by the Bank of Billings. The Bank of Billings, established in 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County. My name is Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside here for just a few minutes, trying something new here at 4 o'clock. And we certainly appreciate that you have tuned in. Brought to you by Doak Propane. Doak Propane, for all your propane needs in Polk County and surrounding counties, see the folks at Doak. Also presented by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks with more than 12 dealerships across Southwest and Mid-Missouri. Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks sponsoring our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks male and female athletes of the week throughout this season. Well, today was supposed to be a Cardinal Royal matchup at Busch Stadium. Obviously, that has been rained out. It'll be part of a day-night doubleheader tomorrow. Maybe we're going to find out which one of these teams is for real right now. As you go back to the Cardinals on May 11th, they were 15-24, 9 games behind, 9 games under 500, and they'd lost 7 in a row since then. They're 33-18, 15 games over 500. You go back to a similar date, May the 25th, and the Royals at 34-19 were 15 games over 500, and they had just defeated the Tampa Bay Rays 7-4. And since then, they're 15-24. They're 9 games over. So 2 teams going in opposite directions right now. And this series, even though it's a 2-game series, means a lot to both of these teams. The Royals right now are on the outside looking in with regards to the wild card. They're a game and a half out of the wild card standings. There's 8.5 behind the Guardians. They're 5-5 over their last 10. The Twins are 7-3 in that same division, and the Royals are 3.5 behind the Twins there. And then you look at the National League where the Cardinals are. Cardinals are in a playoff contention right now. They're 48-42, 4.5 back of the Brewers, who they really struggled against. I believe they're 1-6 against the Brewers this year, giving up 7 runs per game in those 7 games. The Cardinals are 24-18 at home. They're 24-24 on the road. They've won 7 out of their last 10. Who's going to be buyers? Who's going to be sellers at this point of the season? We're just a week away from the Major League Baseball draft and just a couple of weeks out of the trade deadline. There are no waiver wire trades allowed anymore in the league. So that deadline is the deadline. As you look around the National League, the Phillies lead the National League East at 58-32. They're 5-5 over their last 10. Teams really not hot in the National League right now. You've got a 6-4 Padres team, but they're 7.5 behind the Dodgers. Dodgers are 55-36, but the Phillies still have the best record in the National League at 58-32, and the best record for that matter in baseball. Orioles are just behind them at 57-33, and they lead the American League East by 3 games over the Yankees. The Guardians, as I mentioned, 8.5 in front of the Royals, 5 in front of the Twins in the American League Central and the American League West. It's the Seattle Mariners, 2-game lead over the Astros. Astros are 6-4 of their last 10. They've made up 2 games to the Mariners here just in the last 10 games. The Royals, I think right now, this is probably a more important series to them than it is to the Cardinals. Royals right now, they're struggling. Now, they've added Chris Bubich back as he's off of the IL, and that's kind of like a midseason acquisition. Is he going to be able to strengthen up that bullpen? Their starting pitching is amazing. They've done a tremendous job there with Seth Lugo right now being the front runner for the Cy Young Award winner, and probably the front runner to start the All-Star game for the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City Royals with 4 guys in the All-Star game going into the Fall Classic here. You just look at the splits. Royals are 6-1 against the Chicago White Sox, and they're going to play the Cardinals and then the Boston Red Sox coming out of that. But then after the All-Star break, they get the White Sox again. So they need to be getting healthy right now. They need to win this series with the Cardinals, and they don't need a split. They need to take 2 from the Cardinals and then win the series with the Red Sox. I believe going forward there, they'll be in Boston for 3, and then on the 19th, coming back on that Friday, they'll come back and they will host the White Sox for 3 games before hosting Arizona and then the Cubs. And then they got the White Sox again in Chicago and then at Detroit. So they've got some time to make up here, while the Cardinals have got 2 with the Royals coming up here to be a double header tomorrow. And then they've got the Chicago Cubs in town for 4. And then they're at Atlanta for 3 before going to Pittsburgh after the All-Star break. I'm sorry, they're in Atlanta after the All-Star break. And Atlanta's struggling a little bit right now as well. Cardinals, I think, are probably sellers right now. Although early in the year, I was all over Marmol and would have tried to do anything to maybe see what could get him run out of town. But he's kind of righted the ship here, as I mentioned. You know, they're 33-18 over their past 51 games, one of the best records in baseball over that time period. They've just struggled against Milwaukee. As I mentioned, they're 1-6, giving up 7 runs a game to the Brewers, while just scoring just a little bit over 2 runs per game. Got a winning record against Pittsburgh at 4-2. They've swept the Giants earlier, and they're 3-1 against Washington. They've split with Arizona. They're 2-1 against Atlanta, who they've got coming in. They swept Baltimore, who's one of the best teams in the league. So as you look at that, who do you think this series is most important to? I will say Kansas City. And this is the time when, you know, I've been to several of these matchups, and the games I went to between St. Louis and Kansas City were in Kansas City, and it was mostly Cardinal fans. You know, and you got up to go get a drink, or you got up to go use the restroom, and you heard applause. You weren't sure who they were. I mean, who did well? Was it the Royals or was it the Cardinals? Because it was 50-50 and sometimes maybe shaded a little bit to Cardinal fans there. That's not the case anymore. And as you look at the Royals have been to 2 World Series since the Cardinals have been to 1. You know, the Royals have as many World Series over the past 20 years as the Yankees and the Dodgers. So it's the Royals are not what they were, you know, in the 90s and the early 2000s. And you look since 2010, the best records in baseball since 2010 with the most wins in that basically a 14-year period. The Dodgers are 1, the Yankees are 2, and the Cardinals are 3. The Royals aren't in the top 25. Of course, they lost, you know, 106 games last year. But the Dodgers have 1,334 career wins in that time since 2010. The Yankees at 1,282, so they're 50 games behind. And then the Cardinals are 50 games behind the Yankees at 1,231. So the winning percentage goes to the Dodgers in that case. But it's a fun time of the year going into the All-Star break here. And next week, you've got the home run derby. Bobby Witt Jr. has decided he will participate in the home run derby. It's in his home state. There'll be a lot of folks there rooting him on. But that's kind of your morning update here. We'll talk about a little bit of high school football. A lot of camps going on right now for high school and college football. Missouri State was facing there last year in the Missouri Valley Conference in football as they go FCS. After that, I'm sorry, FBS. After that, as they move to Conference USA in all sports, but this will be their last year in the Missouri Valley Conference. Evangel has had a tremendous run over the past decade as well, so looking forward to seeing what holds true there. And then you've got all the new conferences coming up this fall with the Ozark Conference kind of disbanding, so to speak, and going away. Now, Central and Parkview will not be part of a football playing conference. So they will remain independents, but they will be part of the COC in the other sports. The Ozark Mountain Conference, where you've got Bolivar, Branson, moving into that, West Plains, Carl Junction, I believe Logan Rogersville, Marshfield as well, heading in those directions. So a lot of things changing here, and that's been the trend over the past decade, with teams having grown out of their conference size-wise. You go back to 1995, and I believe Nixa was a Class 2 school. Now they're a Class 6 school. You've got Ozark has grown so much as well. So they've outgrown. West Plains, even going back 20, 25 years with being part of the SCA, outgrew that as well. So lots of conferences moving around, lots of things changing. We invite you to keep it here at the Missouri Sports Network for updates on a daily basis. And coming back after the break, we'll talk a little bit about on this day in history, brought to you by Great Southern Bank. Great Southern Bank with more than 100 locations in 6 states. Great Southern Bank, member FDIC, understanding what really matters. Back after this.
Your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. On the state in 1914, Boston Red Sox purchased future Baseball Hall of Fame slugger Babe Ruth's contract from the minor league Baltimore Orioles. He would then go on later to be traded to the New York Yankees, where he became part of that dynasty of the New York Yankees. In baseball history, in 1948, Satchel Paige, he's 42 years old, and made his major league debut pitching 2 scoreless innings for Cleveland in St. Louis. Also on this date, in 1953, Phillies' Robin Roberts ends a streak of 28 consecutive complete games on this date in 1953. And in 1957, the All-Star Game was played in St. Louis, Missouri. American League wins 6-4 at Sportsman's Park in St. Louis in the 24th All-Star Game. In 1963, All-Star Game was MVP Willie Mays of the San Francisco Giants. In 1968, Wilt Chamberlain becomes the first reigning NBA MVP to be traded the next season when he moves from the Philadelphia 76ers to the LA Lakers. In 1969, Tom Seaver's no-hit bid against the Cubs ends with 1 out in the 9th inning. And in 1986, Atlanta's Dale Murphy doesn't play, ending a consecutive streak run at 740 games. And in 1988, Nolan Ryan is the 7th pitcher to win 100 games on 2 different teams as the Astros beat the Mets 6-3. Also in sports history, 1991 All-Star Game MVP is Cal Ripken Jr. from the Baltimore Orioles. You're listening to Missouri Sports Network. Certainly glad you've tuned in. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life.